Brad with Blue Nile Farm. Welcome to Bales Selection and Preparation, part 3 of the Re-Baling series. And today we're going to talk about preparing our bales before we wind up putting them in the unroller. These are 4x4 bales, and down here are 4x5 bales. If you're going to do string-tied bales, regardless what size they are, make sure you put your bales that need to be unwound with the string upright and in a clockwise position from the top level where you look at it. And so you can quickly unroll them and then pull the bales toward you, spear them, and put them into the unroller. So then you're always in a proper position. When we're talking about the net wrap bales, make sure they're laying on their sides, so when you can spear them, you can either cut the net wrap beforehand, say you're on the tractor, lift it up, jump out and pull the net wrap off and then put them into the unroller, or you can wind up, if you're on a skid steer, cut them and then basically lift them, jump in the skid steer, lift them up, and basically a lot of times the net wrap will actually fall off on the bottom where you can reach across and grab it, pull it into the cab, and then put them on the unroller. Either way, how you stage is going to make the difference of being successful or not, as far as, getting this thing to move very quickly and very smooth. I like to stage 5 or 6 bales at a time, depending on what I need to do, and it's a lot easier to do it that way. One consideration you may want to take as far as storing your bales, I like to put mine on the sides. And the reason why I do this, if a bale's on the bottom and just say it got wet or it was damaged, then I just have to cut off that side of the bale. If I put the bales upright where this base is on the bottom, and that base got full of goo or mud or wet, the whole bale is pretty much cooked as far as re-baling goes. It's almost better off just to feed it out and let animals eat it. But as far as re-baling goes, everything needs to be dry because, again, it's based on the quality you can produce. The other problem is these little square balers, from my experience, they don't do really well with wet hay. And you know what it's like to get a wet bale in the summertime, and they're like 80, 90, 100 pounds. A lot of times your strings break. So, you'll have the same problem with re-baling if you have junk stuff. Now, with re-baling, it doesn't improve the quality of the hay. If you got junk hay, you're going to have junk square bales. It's not going to change, whether they're junky rounds or junky squares. If you have a crappy field, you're going to have crappy hay no matter how you go about it. So putting it into a square isn't going to do it much good. So the whole concept of re-baling is you're taking a bale, which is a round bale, which is normally cheaper on the market, and it's easier for most of the farmers to make because obviously handling issues are going to be reduced. And you're going to make it into a small square bale, which is a premium bale for a premium price. So the key to re-baling is taking a round bale and still bale quality hay, but convert it into squares to get that premium price. So again, if the quality of the hay is bad, or say the hay bale was made wet and it's moldy inside, it's not going to do you any good. So as a producer, when I make my hay, I want to make sure it's 100% dry. I try to bale with 15% or less moisture in it, and I do not use preservatives myself. So the hay I have, none of them has preservatives, but I want to make sure it's as dry as possible. Now there's times where I have baled round bales and they're a little bit wet, closer to 20%, and I brought them in the barn because I knew that they were wet and sweating, and I made them into squares right away, and it definitely was able to save that hay. And that's something you may consider with re-baling, is if you just got your hay is a little bit wet and it's at, let's say, 20%, small square bales will take a 20% moisture level bale and are able to adapt to it, where a 20% or wetter round bale, a lot of times they get moldier and they get hot. So it's a good way to save your bales if you need to. So one thing I learned when I started re-baling is that the height in which you cut your hay, you will see a noticeable difference when you re-bale. For example, most of the mowers that are on the market right now, they're set really low. And when I mean low, I'm talking about 1 inch to 2 inches above the ground. And so you're pretty much scalping the ground by the time you tedded the fields, if you use a tedder, or you use your rakes or wheel rakes, and you really bring up a lot of ash and dirt. And you can see that in the hay when you rebale. You know, when they say about grass hay, a lot of times a lot of the big educational programs that are out there, like Ohio State University and such, will talk about cutting grass hay, leaving 4 inches for a quicker recovery time. And I used to cut my hay real low when I first started, and then I want to put in shoes on my Kubota mower, this mower, and now I'm cutting it 4 inches above the ground, and I can notice a big difference as far as the time it takes for the recovery to jump right in the second cut. I mean, I can cut the field down today, and probably within a week I could see it growing right back versus it being kind of knocked down for 2 or 3 weeks before it really starts to, you know, get back up, kind of bring it back out of hibernation. So what I found is that in the rebaling process, when you get hay, or whether you're buying it from somebody else or you just happen to cut well, you're going to notice a lot of dirt and dust is blowing out of your bales. And it isn't because the bales are dusty at all. It's because there's so much dirt debris that's actually inside these bales, and they're very dirty. And it's kind of amazing to me because I never thought it would be like that. But it's one thing I've actually picked up on. So when I rebale the bales that I cut at 4 inches, I get a little dust and a little bit of dirt at all that's blowing in the air. But when you get bales that are cut low on the ground, whether it's from the mower or from the rake, or maybe the combination of all that, you get a lot of dirt in your bales, and you're going to see it very apparent when you rebale hay. So just another thing to kind of pay attention to. And I suggest if you are cutting grass hay, you definitely want to go up and leave about 4 inches for regrowth. Definitely will make a difference for you. But again, the dirt that you'll see in these bales is phenomenal. And you'll just not even to choke yourself out, you almost want to cut it 4 inches because of the dirt that actually is produced here. Once you have bales staged, you might have 6 or 7 bales right near the baler and the unroller. You're going to have the net wrap off, you're going to have the strings off. One trick that I will tell you real quick so you get it is most of us will use a skid steer or a tractor, and we'll have some kind of bale spear. If you have a bale spear, try to get one that has multiple prongs on it, because once they're in deep, that'll keep this bale from moving. So a lot of times, if you just want to make this bale solid, go in low and go in deep and get all 3 prongs into this bale. Then you're able to pick it up and set it in the cradle of the unroller, and you're not going to have it rotate on you. But if you only go a partial bit in, and say this bale, you don't get it exactly even, or say, for example, the bale's lopsided and you'll pick it up, this bale will spin or roll, and all of a sudden all this hay that you have loose because you have the string and the net wrap off will actually fall on the ground, and you're going to have to clean up a large amount of it. So to eliminate that, again, go in low, go in deep, make sure all those 3 points are actually locked in these bales, and set them in that way, because it's going to eliminate a lot of loss that you're going to have to clean up when you're done with the process. And guaranteed you're going to have hay falling off these bales before they go into the cradle, and you have to clean it up. But you want to clean up the least amount possible, so it's a lot easier on you. So that's just one major trick that I want you to pay attention to. You have a bottom bale or a bale that's been kind of compressed down because it's had a lot of different hay on it, and it may not be a perfect cylindrical shape. With the Hustler Unroller, all I can speak for that is that it normally has no problem spinning these around. And a lot of times once you get a little bit of it off, normally it starts to get its shape back again, because a lot of the distortion is on the outside, not when you're getting in toward the center. So for the most part, that's never an issue. I never had a problem spinning a bale through. All works out pretty easy in the end. So just give it a shot and you'll be fine. So if you're going to be out in the midsummer and you're trying to buy hay from other producers, or even yourself if you're making it, the number one thing you need to do is make sure your hay is properly dry. And I know a lot of guys that really try to do it, but sometimes their weather doesn't cooperate with us so well. But no matter what you do, take a meter with you, whether you're buying hay or checking your hay, and make sure it's less than 15%. If you can keep it less than 15%, you're going to have no problem making good quality re-baled bales. But there's times that I take a bale and that I've purchased from somebody and I'm re-baling it and I see a bunch of mold in there. That's because the bale was too wet. So to avoid that problem, take a meter with you and make sure that the person is baling that hay properly. If you're going to drop a lot of money to make profit, if you're buying moldy hay, it's not going to do you any good if it's too hot. Now for myself, normally I don't buy hay in the hay season. And I've never been a big one to buy it, but I do buy it when I'm running low. And this year I haven't really pushed hay sales, so I'm going to have plenty of hay. And I actually just started to advertise to move some of the hay I have before the season starts. But normally I'm pretty low right now and I'm always stressed out. And I always look to purchase hay from other people. But again, if I am looking to buy it, and if I buy it in the winter time, generally hay is well dried by then and you know what you're getting into. But the problem is when you're buying in the season, when guys are baling, a lot of times you get stuck with bad hay and you need to be careful about that. So it's just something to pay attention to. Take a meter with you, make sure it's 15% the way it should be. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video on bale selection and preparation for rebaling. I'm glad you guys tuned in. And remember, the biggest thing is to make sure your bales are dry, clean, and get the best quality hay possible of grass hay for the rebaling operation. And grass hay works best, not legumes. So with that said, hopefully you gained something from the video, and I'll see you next time.